So another year goes by, and companies right now are counting all of the profitability that they have within this last year, trying to get in the numbers to the bottom line of how much they're actually going to take away year over year. They continue to print money all throughout the Federal Reserve banking system that America has, all to give it back to the corporate greed that this country has become. And while that is taking place, while CEOs, CFOs, COOs are lining their pockets, another person in America and across the world is starving. While another person is eating a lobster dinner, another person is living out of their car. While another business executive, president, vice president of a company is taking lavishing trips across the Pacific, another person is renewing their food stamps if they even qualify. These are all the things that have shaped our society, our culture, our very essence as human beings. And corporate companies, folks, they just do not care. And I know that this has been said over and over and over again, but this has to be kept on reiterating because it is no joke. Corporate companies do not care about you. Neither do they care about your best interest. And the 9 to 5 will not last forever. You know, I'll share with you some personal experiences I've had with working in corporate America thus far and how bad it really can get. Now, I am thankful and blessed to have a job and a roof over my head and food to eat. Do not forsake survival for privilege. I am thankful and blessed for the things that I personally have and that God Himself has given me. But that doesn't take away the fact that we are all still slaves. No matter if you're making $50,000 a year, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $1 million a year. You are still a slave if you are working for someone else. So stop trying to tell other people you just got to work harder. You just got to go to college more. You got to put in more time. You got to put in, crack those books open. Like, those days are gone. Artificial intelligence is taking over. And people they're not even waking up to realize it. They're realizing it once they get laid off or their company no longer can provide financial stability for them, meaning that their position is no longer needed and or deleted. I had that recently happen to my landlord's family member. I'm not going to say who, but that recently happened. His daughter got laid off. Simply put, she did a fantastic job. She's smart, educated. She has, I think, several degrees, not just one, but several. And I've met with her and I've talked with her and I've even bonded with her. And she told me her story, and I think it is a travesty. But she was the victim of corporate America. She was the victim of the corporate fear-mongering companies that exist in today's world. And that not just control the United States, but control the world and its population of people that comprise the 7 or 8 billion that we have on this planet. And to be honest with you, it's becoming now almost like a mini humanitarian crisis. Because I know people that work for companies that have even made a certain amount of money one year, and the next year, mysteriously, they're making less. Now, some of that is due to higher taxes, inflation, but then some of it is just simply put, wages are not keeping up with the rate of inflation, and companies are asking for more than what they can put out in monetary value to their employees. This is why worker unions were created. This is why worker rights and all these other things have been implemented over the years, because corporations have this tendency to constantly pack on more work than what they can give out in compensation. And it's getting worse. And even unions are looking away. Even the very people that we trusted in government and politics and politicians, like, those are the last people you want to trust nowadays. And I think everybody is aware of this. I think everybody is waking up to this, or at least I hope. And if you're not, hopefully this video can find you and help. Because I'm telling you right now, one of the companies I worked for, they provided a bonus structure where I was in sales and I had to get X amount of sales, but within that X amount of sales, they provided compensation. Typical sales job, right? There was a lot to the job. There was a lot of management with the job, and it also involved tenants. It also involved real estate. And one year, they decided to change the way our payment structure was going to be. They said, we're going to change your structure because we believe your bonus incentive that you are receiving is not as fair as it could be. So what we're going to do is, on average, however many sales a certain mile radius is getting, or a certain amount of salesmen in a certain area are getting, we're going to give you an average across the board of what we feel is the necessary amount of money you should receive. So essentially what this company had done is they took out the supply and demand market aspect of doing things in sales and letting the salesman go out and sell their product or their service and let the market decide if they're going to buy and sell it. They kept that partially in line, but the other half is, you're going to do the same thing, but regardless of however much you're going to sell, you're only going to get what we say you're going to get. Now, they didn't out and out explain it like that. But what they did is they packaged it up in a bow and said, oh, well, this is on average what everybody is getting, so we'll just bake this into your salary. Right? The problem with that is that you could make way more sales one year and be down in sales the next year or break even. When you give an average of what you think, meaning the company, is going to give you, you are letting them decide your wealth. You are letting them decide your value. And that's exactly what they did. And this is exactly what corporations do, is they determine what your value is based on what you bring to the table. And based on that, that's how much you will be able to get paid, compensated, and continue this systemic survival that 90 to 95% of people have to coexist with because of the infrastructure that government and corporations and big wealthy business people tell you this is how you have to be. And it's brainwashing. It's simple as that. It's brainwashing. The craziest part is when some of us spoke up against our superiors, they were so quick to cast us down and say, if you want to talk about this, we have to talk about it on an individual level. And that's typical of the workplace, right? That's a typical response that you'll get in the professional sphere of the working class. And I think it's shitty because essentially we have this thing called capitalism, which is supposed to free us hypothetically from dictatorship, socialism, and communism, and all the bad isms that we always hear about. But yet, when you work for a company and they do something shitty like that, and then in a unanimous effort, people try to come together and try to speak up about the inhumane way that they're now cutting someone's pay and saying that they'll be compensated the same. Don't worry about it, you'll see. But yet we have no proof of that. That is literally a dictatorship. And I think I'm not against capitalism in full, but I am against the current capitalistic system that most of the Western world exists in. The Eastern side of the world I cannot speak from because they go through completely different ways of life that are even more inhumane than the West. But I will say on the Western side of the world, governments are controlled by corporations and financial institutions, banks, you name it. And the fact that at least the company I had worked for at the time didn't want anybody coming forth, not having group discussions about this tragedy, really, because people are going to be getting paid now less than what they should be worth based on all the efforts and the provided need they're helping to fulfill those needs that the company's asking other customers to give to them. Like, it's crazy to me. It's literally a dictatorship within making money, because you're saying, we don't give a shit about what you say. What we say goes, but hey, we're going to tell you that our core values are this and that our people matter, right? Our people matter. But yet they don't matter. It's a hypocrisy, because when you speak up against them, they want to talk to you on an individual basis, because they're going to tell you why they feel this is what you're worth to them, and this is how much money you should be making. This is the type of structure that we are all living in, and I know most people don't want it. Most people would rather have a family, stay home with their kids, and do fun things and go on vacations. They don't want to be subject to this corporatocracy that we call democracy, in the name of profitability for a company. And I know people are going to comment or say, oh, dude, you just got to work harder, man. You just got to find a different job, man. Oh, you got to just make more money, dude. If you're not happy, leave. That's not the point. The point is that a lot of this stuff that we have today is inhumane and not normal. It's not normal. It's not. When people thousands of years ago, we've always had slavery, but when people of thousands of years ago were slaves, they were still provided food, shelter, water, clothing, all the things that they needed, right? But yet, in today's world, we virtually are doing the same thing, but you have to pay for food, shelter, water, clothing, and any other extra expenditures that the capitalistic corporations try to instill and brainwash you into thinking you need more. So sure, the violence in slavery has lessened, at least in the West. We don't have people getting beaten and imprisoned and burned at the stake for their beliefs, because we have freedom of speech, apparently, which I personally believe is not free anymore. But we are in a worse, as a society, we are in a worse state of condition mentally at least, maybe not physically, but mentally, than we ever have been for at least several thousand years, if you really think about it. Think about this. If you don't go to work tomorrow, right? Okay, maybe you have a sick day, you can use that time off, you get paid for it. But if you don't have that sick time, you're not getting paid. The corporation's like, we don't care however many days you've clocked in, or if you're on salary, how many hours you've spent here in the office past when you were supposed to be here to fix our problems. We don't care about how many hours we've taken away from your life, your family, your significant others, etc., right? All we care about is making our money, and we're going to use you to exploit you as a tool in our aid. And yet, the outside forces, such as paying your water bill, your car bill, heating, electric, food, gasoline, childcare, anything you can think of, all stems off of 1, 2, 3 income streams that you need to keep up with in order to keep surviving. Because if you don't have a job, you're not going to survive. So one corporation dictates your pay, your life, your time, so that other corporations can dictate how much money you have to pay them for certain services. Certain services that a lot of the times are not the amount of money that you're actually needing to spend. They're way cheaper, but they know that they can get away legally with all of this propaganda that they can put up. I mean, think about it. Think about how many days and hours and weeks and years even that you've put into a company, all for them to come back 30 years later and say, I'm sorry, we don't have your money for your 401k. I'm sorry, we don't have your pension anymore. I'm sorry, we don't have this, we don't have that. But thank you for your service. Thank you for your time. Meanwhile, you have to figure out the next 20 years of your life by the time you're 65. Let's say you make it to 80 or 85. You have to figure out how you're going to survive that other 20 while they just took 30 years of your life when you started as a young employee, if you stayed with them all that time, as a young employee all that time. Meanwhile, within the next 5 or 10 years, we're going to have artificial intelligence replace, 40 to 50% of the workforce, they're estimating. I just read a whole thing about it the other day. I saw also a panel, I think it was on 60 Minutes a few years ago, and they were talking about that. The interviewer was like, "You're talking about 40 to 50%," and the guy who he was interviewing said, "Yes, we very strongly believe that AI will replace a lot of the common people's jobs." Well, what jobs are going to be left? You'll have people in the medical field, but I'll tell you this: the medical field, I respect the physicians, the nurses, the X-ray techs, MRI techs for how much they do. So many of them, sorry, I got a text. So many of them think that they are safe. And while they are now, I'm going to tell you that even in the medical field, you will be infiltrated by AI. Mark my words. I don't know what positions will be lessened or eliminated, but I can tell you this, that every field will be infiltrated by AI as the years go on. I don't know how many years. It could be 30, 50, 100 years, but it could be as little as 10. So no one is safe. No matter how safe you think you are, no one is safe from AI. No one is safe from being replaced by these people, by AI, by these robots, by the people that stand behind their corporation or their organization. It's mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing. that we as human beings have to suffer under this type of rule. I mean, if you think about it one more time, you go to bed, you wake up, you go to work, you do work, you come home, you eat, go to sleep. You repeat the same cycle 5, 6, 7 days out of the week. If you're in the medical field or emergency services field, maybe you only do 3 or 4 days, but you're working 10 to 12 hour days. And by then, it's like you're working 5 or 6 days because of how many hours you're if you think about it, you are working double the amount of hours within a short amount of time span. And the last time I checked, people in the medical field don't have pensions. The only people who do still are emergency service workers, which are the firemen, the police. I don't know about EMTs or paramedics. I think with the firemen, they're paramedics too, so I'm going to guess it's all the same, but you don't. That's why they have the 401k, because the 401k was introduced to replace the pension. So that way, if a company doesn't have the funds, they don't legally, get pinched. Versus a pension was completely something different. That was for civil service jobs or state jobs that provided it regardless of however things are going. It was more definitive. The 401k is not. As much as you think you are safe with a 401k, you are not at the end of the day. Whatever company you're working with, whether it's 2, 3, 4 companies later, you can roll over that stuff, but 9 times out of 10, people also pull money out to pay bills because they're trying to survive from their 401k. So you put in all this money all to take your money out again. And then not to mention, if you are at a company year over year, there's no guarantee that at the end of it, they're going to have the funds for you. That's the reality, right? These companies offer these services, but yet they're not solidified. There's always a risk, just like anything in life. So while you think you're so secure in your 9 to 5, making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, you are never secure. And I think most people know that. And you are a slave to your job. Whether you want to be financially free and be independent, even if you're independent, you are a slave. The problem that exists is the structures and system that we live in. I mean, you got to pay money for food that Mother Nature gave us, all because some other human being said, I made it, so you have to pay me. Even though they didn't make it. They just bought the rights of a company, started a company, bought the rights to it, or made it, and then started picking all these fruits and all these vegetables and then selling it back to the public at an inflated cost. If you want hot water in your home, you have to pay another company for that water. That water is not free. Because they say what? Oh, well, it's got to go through a filtration process. Oh, well, it's got to be this. It's got to be that. Which I get. There are parts of the world that need, including here, filtration. But the system that is put in just for that is ridiculous. A job is just surviving. And what's asinine to me, truly, is that if you want to move up in your company, you have to fake it. You have to tell them, oh, I believe in this company so heartedly that, I want to, project as much income as I can for you, right? And I want to kiss your ass every day and wake up just, sleeping, breathing, and eating this company. That's what employers want, all for them to basically say, F you, you're gone tomorrow. They only need you when they don't need you anymore. So corporations are disgusting. These bureaucracies, these entities that exist in today's world are absolutely a joke. A joke. But that's about all I have to say today on this rant, on that video, or on this video, I should say. You guys have a blessed holiday, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.